Mana mana. Mana mana. Mana mana.
I'm trying to find a ticket to RubyConf, and I'm having a heck of a time doing it. I've been looking on Twitter, I've been looking on the news groups. I just can't find a ticket. So what I want to do is I want to create a little notifier that will notify me every time a certain keyword is sent to Twitter, and it will growl at me and tell me that it's been pushed. So I'm going to just create a little script that's a Ruby script that will show you how to do that. And hopefully I can just run that in the background and I'll have a bunch of notifications, and maybe if I'm lucky I can get a ticket. So anyway, and also for those who are watching, if you do decide to help me out and help me find a ticket, I'll give you 1 month of free advertising on my website. Anyway, so I created a folder here. There's nothing in it. Here, let me make this a little bigger. Nothing in the folder right now. I'm going to create a file called twit search growl. It really doesn't matter what it's called. So here we have our file, and let's make this bigger here. And the first thing I want to do is require Ruby gems, and then the next thing I want to do is use John Nunemaker's Twitter gem, and I'll show you where that is. Let me just go to search for Twitter gem, and it's the very first one. Let me shrink this down a little bit so we can see it. There we go. And so you can see all we have to do is run sudo gem install Twitter. So we can do sudo gem install Twitter, and you'll see that I actually already have this one installed, but if you don't, it'll go through and install it in all the dependencies. And okay, well, I already have this. I'm actually uploading a file right now on Vimeo, and my internet speed is really slow, so it's not downloading that anytime quickly. So anyway, once you have that installed, if you scroll down, you'll see that he has a very simple search API, and this is what we're going to start with right here. So let's pull that to the side, go back to our script, and let's require the Twitter gem. And so just to start off with, we're going to go ahead and give this a search, and let's give this a try. We run it, and you see we do already get a bunch of information. So if we want to look and see what type of information that is, we can do r.to.yaml. I mean, it doesn't show the type of information; it shows the actual data that's being sent across. So you see, it's a mash object which has a bunch of keys and values. So we're going to be using. We want to grab the from user, the text, and the ID from those. And the point in this is that we don't want to show anything that's already been shown. So let's set our last tweet ID to 0, and let it set up a loop, and in that loop we're going to do a search. But on this one we actually want to use a since parameter, and what that does is it doesn't return any tweets on or before the tweet ID that we pass. So we pass in last tweet ID, and we call fetch, and we do first. So that will return our first result that comes back with that. And if we want, we can go ahead and put that out there. Let's run that again, and here we go. We have, oh, because it is in a loop right now, it's going to continue going, but there's our first one right here. As you can see, it does capture it. So let's stop that, and let's put here a sleep maybe 30 seconds. And now that we have this, we want to populate some parameters or some variables. So let's set from user equals result from user, text equals result text, and last tweet ID equals the ID. So as you can see, we're going to set the ID in this. Now it's not going to annoy us at all on multiple. So let's put s result. Actually, why don't we just put these out? So from user text and ID. Let's run that. Oh, symbol as array index. You know what? I forgot a couple of things. It calls for this. So you see we have, let me make this a little bigger here. So it goes last tweet, it does a fetch call, gets the results, which is an array, and then it calls the first on that. So let's give that a shot. I don't know if it's our internet that's slow or what, but we'll try this one more time. Since last tweet ID, fetch results first. Well, why don't we do this? If result, print that out, and then if else, we'll put no results. So there we go. We do have the 3 items that we wanted, and then in 30 seconds it'll probably come back and say no results. So here, let me do that. And anyway, we'll let that go for a little bit. So the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to do a Growl notification. With the Growl notification, we're going to need to install a gem called Ruby Growl. And you can find that right here. If you do a search for Ruby Growl gem, it'll tell you how to do it. To install it, you just do run gem install Ruby Growl, and I need sudo. You run that, it'll go ahead and install Ruby Growl and everything that it needs. I'm going to kill that because I already have it. And so now I just require Ruby Growl. So with this, once you have Ruby Growl installed, you should be able to, based on their example here, run a couple of commands and see that it works. So if I do that, there you can see right here it did work. Now if it's not working for you, you do have to do this. You need to open up your settings, your system preferences, and go to your Growl, click on network, and make sure both of your listen for incoming notifications and allow remote application registration is clicked. And I also, once I did that, I had to stop and start Growl. So if it's not working when you do that, stop it and start it back up again. Should work just fine. So all you have to do is do that, make sure it works. So we're in business. Okay, so now all we need to do is go back here and grab this little clip on how to post this. So I'm going to use their example, say this is a new Ruby Growl notification, and g.notify will actually call that, and here is the title and here is the body. So what I want to do is put the text there and the from user there. So I can delete that, and if I run this, you should see right here we have the latest message from Teach Me to Code, and it'll just keep going and going and going. let's try something that's a little bit more common, like Ruby. So if we do a search for that, and actually, why don't we turn down the, why don't we make it run a little bit quicker? So let's do a sleep 10 seconds. Okay, here we go. So it grabs the last one. 10 seconds later. It says no results. So it hasn't found one yet for the within that time. So, well, you get my drift. If we did something, you know, a lot more popular, like Wave, with the new Google Wave, that should hopefully bring up some more stuff we can take a look at now. You're going to want to set your timeout to work with the keyword that you're going to use. Nice. Anyway, you're going to want to set the timeout to work with the keyword that you're going to use. So for me, I want to search for RubyConf. So on this, I'm going to have it search every, let's say every 30 seconds. And now I can go in and run Ruby tweet search growl.rb and put a -d at the end. It'll run on its own, and it should, well, it should have stopped for me, but if it didn't, well, let's see. Is it, it doesn't matter. I thought it was -d, but anyway, you get the point. That's how you would create that. Very, very helpful, I think. It'll, you know, throughout the day I'll be able to follow and see any notifications, so hopefully I can get a ticket. Anyway, as you can see, I'm uploading the Flitter 5 movie right now. You should see that shortly, but I hope you enjoyed this. It was a very short little screencast, and something that I was hoping to do eventually after the Flitter thing was done. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!